changes to the people testimonials on Inside in Health. There are two elements to this. There are how to make changes to the carousel on the Meet Our Peoples page, which we can see here, and then also how to make additions and changes to the individual testimonial pages that we see here. So we're going to head on over to the back end of WordPress for Inside in Health, which you'll see here. The first thing we're going to do, we'll look at the carousel on Meet Our People. So we need to go to Pages and then All Pages to bring up the Pages dashboard. And in Live, of course, you're going to go to Meet Our People and you're going to hit Use Visual Builder. That is the live page. I've set up a copy of that page as a draft called Demo, so I'm going to go into Use Visual Builder on the demo page, but you'll need to go into Meet Our People to make changes on the live version. And that will take us into here. Just as a reminder, the way Divi works, we have 3 different color sections for edit. We have a blue section here, which is for the whole section. We then, underneath that, have the different rows and columns. So we have a row here with 2 columns. In the first column we have the header and the text, and in the second column we have the carousel itself. And when we hover over the carousel, we get the grey settings button come up, which will mean we make changes here to the actual module. I'm going to hit the settings button there, and as you can see, each of the individual elements of the carousel by name have a separate row. So if I want to make edits to Claire in the middle here, I would hit the settings button where it says Claire, and that's going to open up the content for that individual carousel item. You can see here we have Claire's name. If we wanted to edit Claire's name, we can make the change there, and you'll see that it actually changes on the carousel in front of you, which is the advantage of the Visual Builder. You'll see here that we've got subtitle, which is where we've put the job title, and then we have in the content section just below, we have a little bit of text, which is these 3 lines here. Further down from there, we have button settings, which is where we have the text that appears within the button and the link that that button is going to take you to, which will of course be the individual testimonial page. And then the final one below that is the image settings, which is where if we wanted to change the image there, then we can go into the media library by clicking on the image. We find the image we want to replace it with. I'll choose one that's of the same idea. We'll choose this one here, and then we will upload an image, and you'll see that the image now has changed both in the settings here but also in the Visual Builder on the right hand side there. And the final one that you might need to consider, if you scroll down next to bottom here, we have background. This is where we would change the color of the background section here in the carousel, remembering that we'd want to change the design settings of the button as well to match it. So let's say we go with this particular orange there, because this is the InHealth palette. You'll notice that has changed here and that has changed there. We then want to go into design. We'd want to go down to button, and we'd want to look at the coloring that we've got in place for things like the border and the text color, and we'd want to match it there. At the moment it's blue. If you want to delete an individual testimonial from the carousel, very, very straightforward. You just choose the one you want to delete. Let's say somebody's moved on from the business, and you can just click this delete or trash icon, and that will delete that line from the carousel. Just like that. Now, if you want to add a new one, my advice would be to duplicate an existing entry in the first instance. And the reason I suggest that is because what that will do is it will hold all your design settings. So the text colors, the text sizes, the fonts, etc., the spacing, they will all be already there, and you don't have to worry about those. All you'll need to worry about doing is just replacing the actual content. So by way of example, you can actually duplicate any of the entries. If you want to duplicate the last one, then you can, no problem at all, and that will put it at the end of the carousel. If you decide to duplicate something near the beginning, it will just put it in place wherever you duplicate. I'm going to choose to duplicate this first one simply so it will stay on the screen for us. So I'm going to come here to the duplicate button where it says Amy. I'm going to hit duplicate, and you'll notice that a second Amy has appeared. What we can now do is we can go into the settings for Amy here using the settings button, and then we can change that to new name. We can change the subtitle, the job description in there, and you'll see that these start to appear on the visual builder, which is nice and easy. We could change whatever it is that we wanted in this section here to appear as the little header there, and everything, as you can see, stays in the right fonts, etc., etc. My advice will be to try and keep the descriptions of a similar length so that they span 3 lines, such that some of the boxes don't get bigger than others, and it will just keep it nice and straightforward, especially as this is a scrolling carousel. That will look a lot neater. So try and keep the descriptions of a similar length if you can. The next thing that we'd want to change is the button settings, because we want to change the text on the button there. So we could change this text here, and that will change there. And we will want to change the link here to the page that we build for this individual's testimonial, which we'll cover in a second. We'll want to change the image because we'll have a new image. My advice here is certainly to try and keep these images of a similar size again. So the people images that I have at the moment are 300 by 300 pixels. And so they fit nicely into a circle. Square images is absolutely vital because we are rounding off the corners of the images to create the circle. So if we were to choose this image for the new person, we would hit upload an image here, and that changes the image in front of us. The final one we'd want to change on this section is the background. If we wanted to choose a different color, we could go in here. If we wanted to choose one of the in-health palette colors, that's fine. We could go in here. These are all the in-health palette colors that are previously saved. We hit that and you'll see it changes on the right here. But if we've changed the color, we'll also want to match that color for the design in the button. So we go to design, to button text color, we change to match the orange. You'll see it there. And then the border color, and we select the same orange. Then we hit the green Save Changes button here. And once we're happy with all the changes, again, Save Changes in the section to close down the section. Once you've made changes to the desktop section, you do need to remember that because the mobile section is formatted differently to suit the screen size, further down, and you'll see it slightly grayed out, and that's because it's a mobile section and we're currently in desktop mode. But you can still make edits to a mobile section. It's just grayed out to remind you that it's not actually enabled for desktop. You'll then need to make the same changes you've just made to this carousel up on desktop to the mobile carousel here. And the process is exactly the same as you've just done. You hover over. You can do this in desktop if it's just easier to see. You don't have to be in mobile mode to do it. You can go in and it's exactly the same. It's just a second carousel that is set up to be 1 width centered as opposed to 3 width and slightly to the right of a second column. So always remember that you may have to do things twice, once for desktop and once for mobile. And when you've finished, you just hit Save Changes. The next thing we're going to look at is how to make changes to the individual testimonials and how to add new testimonials. So again, we're going to go back to Inside In Health. Now, if we want to make changes to any of the ones that are already there, you can see they're all here listed under Meet Our People. And it would be a case of going in, use the visual builder, and making any changes on those particular pages. If we want to add a new person, my advice, as with the carousel on the Meet Our Peoples page, is to actually duplicate an existing one in the first instance. Again, the beauty of that is it will give you all of the design elements already done. And the way to do that is to come across to any of the pages whatsoever, it doesn't matter, and hit this clone button here. That will create a page in draft format, as you can see here, with the same name as the one you've just cloned. My advice here is, before you do anything else, go to Quick Edit and just change that to the name that it's going to be, so that you don't start to edit the wrong one by mistake. So I would just change that title there, leave it as draft, and click Update. And now you're far less likely to make any slight error on which one you're actually updating. So Thomas has given us a testimonial. We'll go to Use Visual Builder, and we'll start to make changes to the page with Thomas's details. And as ever with Divi, we're just hovering over the content, and we'll start at the top, and we'll change Agin's story in here to Thomas's story. And we'll hit the green tick, and that will change here. We'll change this one. Now, this is not an image, this is actually a background in a text box. So to change that image, we go scroll down to background here, to image here, we click the image, and we can select a different image. Again, as a reminder, that has been sized for 300 by 300 pixel images. So far better to try and use something of the same size. So we'll choose that one. We'll change that. We'll hit the tick, and you'll see that that image is changed there. Assuming you've got your copy ready, you'll just copy and paste into here by just opening the box, highlighting the text, paste as plain text, and you can replace the content. My advice again would be trying to make sure that the header is about the same length, because everything in WordPress is relative when it comes to size. So if you have more than 2 lines here, then everything else will move down, possibly then to a point where it's below the fold and you can't see it. This image here is 315 by 315, so to change that, it's just a simple matter of doing the same thing. Click choosing an image from the library and changing the image, and that will go into there. And then the final thing for the desktop version is to look at how to make changes to this Divi menus, which is very similar to the Divi carousel. So this module is a Divi menus module using images instead of text. So to make changes to that, you'll see that it works quite similar to the carousel module. At the moment we have 8 because we have 9 testimonials, and the testimonial page that we're actually on isn't included, of course, in the menu below. So we will want to add a new one, and we can do that similar to the carousel by just duplicating one here. I've chosen the one on the end, and you'll see now we've got 2 Kerrys, etc. We can then edit the second one here. We can change that text. And then we'll need to change the image to whichever image we decide to use. Using again a square image, and ideally at 300 by 300, which you'll have prepared in advance. We'll just choose this fella again, and you'll see that now that is there. But to get that go to the right place, then we'll need to change the link, which is here, to the right page. Now, important to remember that what we were doing is making sure that the links at the bottom didn't include the page that we were on, which means that every person page has a slightly different version of this menu. So when we're adding somebody on all of the other pages, we will want to add their name onto the end of the menu to make sure that people can link to them all, unless you decide you don't want to do that. You don't have to do that. You will be able to access them from a carousel on the Meet Our People page, but you won't therefore be able to, if you don't add them here, be able to link to them from the individual testimonial pages. We would click change, and then he's ready to go in there. Now, we need to remember again that we have mobile as well as desktop. So that changes the desktop, but it doesn't change the mobile. So we'll need to scroll down to the mobile. Now, as you can see, because we're viewing in desktop mode, the mobile page looks a little weird. So to get to mobile view, we need to click the purple section on the bottom, and we need to go to mobile view here on the end, and then that puts our desktop screen in a mobile view, and you can now see that it makes a lot more sense. The same would apply here. Just update the content that you have here. This one is an image, so you click on the image here, you choose a different image from the library, again using 300, and that changes there. Hit the green. Change the text here by just hovering, hitting settings. Again, change the text, and that's it with mobile because we don't have the menu in place on mobile. Then you would save the draft, or if you're happy and you want to publish it straight away, you can just go there and you can just hit publish. Obviously, I'm not going to do that on this occasion. If I save draft and I'll go back to pages, he's all there ready to publish whenever you want. But you'll notice when we go back, he's not in the same place because the subpages are in alphabetical order. They're all subpages of Meet Our People, so that the URL is then insideinhealth.com/meetourpeople/Thomas story or whatever it is you've decided to use. You will notice that I've used the name -story for the slugs, which is the bit after the slash for the ones up to now. So for consistency, you may want to make it Thomas/story, etc.